Thank you, and I would like to start by thanking the organizers for their kind invitation, and thank you, Amos, for your invitation as well. It is nice to talk about other things than COVID for a change in these times. I'd like to share with you our experience in trying to reduce or to prevent NCDs in Morocco. It's an experience that we started with the University of Hassan II in Casablanca and the Department of Health and other NGOs. In the last decades, NCDs have been rising in Morocco, and the focus was obviously in the nutritional focus of the departments of health was to tackle infectious disease and nutrient deficiencies. In the last 20 years, we started focusing on obesity, diabetes, and high blood pressure because they were on the rise. Nowadays, this is the numbers by the WHO, which attribute 80% of all deaths to NCDs in 2018. Needless to say that the prevalence of obesity, of high blood pressure, and of diabetes are well above the targets that the WHO and the Moroccan government have set to achieve in 2025. Now, with COVID, it is highly doubtful that we will reach these numbers, and this is another problem that maybe we should talk about later. So how did we get here? So the focus in Morocco was in the last century was to tackle food insecurity. So the focus was on promoting agriculture and investing in agriculture. So there was food subsidies in the early 1940s, and they were focused mainly on subsidizing staple foods, and they were white flour, vegetable oils, sugar, and so on. So we have these highly caloric staple food that were subsidized and were made available for the population. And 20 years ago, we started the free trade agreements, and a major proportion of the food available in the Moroccan markets were coming from the European Union and from the US. So there was suddenly, overnight, there was more choice for the consumer to consume ultra-processed foods and high density foods, and this helped or worsened the case of NCDs. So the other problem was that the target that were chosen by the government to carry the fortification efforts were those foods. So we have white flour for the fortification with folic acid and iron and vitamin B. Vegetable oils were fortified with vitamins A and D, and iodine was fortified was carried in salt. So when we started to question ourselves, what's the sodium intake in Morocco, because the numbers weren't there, and we wanted to see if sodium intake in Morocco is really higher than the WHO recommendations of 2 grams per day. So two studies were carried in recent years. The first one found that the mean or the average consumption intake of sodium in children was well above the recommended values. In adults, we found the same thing. We found that the average intake was over 2,800 milligrams per day, and
Minutes
the
remaining, please.
proportion of, sorry,
Minutes remaining. 1 minute.
okay. So maybe I'll skip these slides and just to say that we found out later that the major vector of sodium or salt was widespread, and the initiative was to instead of relying on policies, we started approaching the other stakeholders than the government. I mean, including the industry in the decision making. And for the example of salt, because the problem with salt in the industry, in the food industry, that it is used in conserving food. So when you talk to the food industry about reducing salt, this is a major problem. So we started a pilot project to try to reduce sodium in commercial white bread, and we approached the National Federation of Professional Bakeries. And in the late in the recent years, there was a 25% reduction in added salt in bread preparation, in which translated in an average of in a reduction from 17 grams per kilogram of bread in 2011 to a 13 grams per kilogram in 2016. This reduction was entirely made voluntary, so there was no enforcement that was by the government, and this is the major particularity of this initiative. There wasn't a law to enforce this initiative. So subsequently, there was a program, the National Program of Nutrition set an objective of reducing salt by the consumption of salt by 30% in accordance to the WHO directives.
Okay.
Thank you.